Hey, what do you say? This is Bobby Blitz from Overkill. That's right, and you are listening to Sonic Perspectives.
And this is Michael the MettleAngel Francisco, and I'm interviewing the one and only Bobby Blitz Ellsworth from the long-lasting Overkill. We're about to talk about the new album and everything else. All right, happy birthday. You just turned 60.
Yeah, I like that.
God damn, you look good for 60. I mean, you had the nose cancer, you had all the other...
I just woke up. I take afternoon naps. You can tell I wasn't trying to be shitty outside.
No.
And I don't want to bother you. I'm like holding potato chips in one hand, beer in the other. Can you sign this? I'm like, what do I drop?
Right, yeah, right. But I mean, you know, you've been on the road for 35 years, and you know, for you to be turning 60 and after kicking ass, like I said, what, 16 years ago you had the nose cancer deal?
This was back in 90s, yeah.
Okay,
so
yeah.
I mean, it's been over 20 years.
20 years,
97,
okay.
I had it, and nothing's ever recurred. So,
Okay, really?
Yeah.
And your health is great all around?
Pretty good, yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean,
So glad to
not
hear.
bad. I mean, it's still energetic. I mean, I've always said I'd do this as long as I could do it at, at a high level or more than acceptable level. It's always been an energy-induced band, so hey, it's still kicking ass and taking names. So
That's awesome.
That's the important thing.
And I heard that after Defiance dropped off tonight, so it's just Mothership, Death Angel, and you guys. It's still an early ending show, huh?
They never were on it after they dropped off it prior to us going out. I think Chris Broderick started
Joined
working with Flames.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I heard.
So I mean, we found out about this in Europe and that they weren't going to do it. So that was prior to the start of the tour. That was March.
Wow, because Nuclear Blast was promoting all the things were showing them on the the venue bills and all that kind of stuff like that. So we were ignorant. We just assumed they were on the bill. But good for Chris Broderick. I mean,
yeah, good guy.
Active Defiance is a tremendous waste of talent, in my opinion. You got some great musicians, and they should all be doing other things. And Chris Broderick from Megadeth and Egg Panzer, glad that he's doing something like that.
Yeah,
so.
we like Sean and Chris very much.
Right.
And I think Jason's Matt plays in there. Who used to be in Shadows Fall with Jason.
Right, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, you got two members of Shadows Fall because you got the drummer from Shadows Fall, and they got the bass player from Shadows Fall, and yeah, you got Jason from Shadows Fall, previously of Flotsam, and he's really that new album. His drumming is just sensational.
Yeah, I mean he's really the X factor on it for sure. I mean it's changed the chemistry, but it still has an Overkill stamp on it at the end of the day, which is to us the important thing. That the vision for us is always, well, it's got to be Overkill. That's the only vision we really have. It's not like, oh, we're painting with broad strokes this time or small strokes. We just want it to be Overkill. And Jason has more than just followed us. Been a friend of ours since he was a teenager. He would show up in upstate New York with a couple sticks and look to play or hope he could fill in or sit in. And he did when he was in Shadows Fall during the NAMM convention. We happened to be coming through Los Angeles, and we let him sit in. I don't know, 2006 or something like that. Yeah.
That's awesome. I know, and I talked to him when he joined Flotsam a number of years ago. That he was so grateful to do that, and he brought that, their self-titled album home and stuff like that. And you could definitely tell on the new album, The Wings of War, exactly. Did he help do some of the writing as far as, or was it just you and Didi again, or?
Well, primarily you don't get somebody with his talent and say this is what you got to play. We say we'd like to go in this direction, and there was a skeletal demo done with finger drums, kind of a thing, just in that direction, just to give him an idea, and then we said do whatever you want.
Okay.
This is how we hear it, but we'd like to know how you hear it, and boy, he would. He'd send me 8 or 10 changes a day. Once we demoed everything and we had real tracks with him on it, he could change those tracks up at his studio. And I think for the song Head of a Pin, I must have gotten 8 different drum tracks in one day.
Really?
Yeah, because he caught fire, that kind of a thing. He always wanted to be in this band. He had said, the audition was very simple. It was done over a phone. Do you want to be in now? I said, well, at the end of this tour, we're going to move into it. He goes, give me 10 minutes. I got to ask my wife. Because I just told her I was leaving the touring life. And he called back in 10 minutes and said, I'm in. and that was the audition. So.
And your previous drummer, who used to be in the great Jersey band Hades, has teamed up with Dee Dee for his new solo album.
Yeah.
So it's good that you guys are all keeping it.
Yeah, Ryan is by no means a slob. I'm not. They're both
right.
great drummers at I'm not going to say at equal levels, but different drummers. And and Ron was instrumental in helping the band get to the point where we were since let's say the Ironbound era.
Right.
You know,
absolutely.
and but Jason. Gives us the opportunity to go other places, I think, at this point, which is kind of great because, you know, some people who really don't know the nuances of the band, who look at it from the outside or like a few songs, they say, "Oh, the band never changes." Well, obviously it does, from record to record.
Wow, yeah.
And every song on The Wings of War, for instance, has different nuances and different personality.
Absolutely.
It's not the same song. I think we've always prided ourselves that, sure, it sounds like Overkill at the end of the day, but each song's to have an individual personality of its own.
And I spent the last couple of weeks going back and playing Grinding Wheel, Electric Age, Ironbound, and it seems like you're, no pun intended, but you're constantly reinventing the wheel. But I think we talked last time, you talked about basically putting a fresh coat of paint on a house that's already standing.
Yeah,
and that's a good analogy.
Yeah, updated. I mean, it's not about a departure. I mean, we know what we are. I mean, sure, we live in a box. We just find new things within the box. I mean, that's kind of the idea. I mean, you're not going to hear us at, symphonic parts to Overkill. I mean, it is meat and potatoes, but every now and then something kind of strange on there, or going in a different direction, or, you know, adding the groove to the speed, it incites us to do more stuff. Inspires us to say, hey, this is still working, it's still relevant in the current day, not just living in a nostalgic age in our head and mailing the tracks in so we can tour. You know, it's about kind of creating something that's got value in the present day.
Absolutely. And you're so articulate about this, and you have been incessantly touring. I mean, it's like you put out an album almost clockwork, like every 2 years, and then tour. And interesting, I'm looking at the live Overhausen. You did obviously Feel the Fire, and you obviously did Horoscope in entirety. So any chance, now we're celebrating 30 years of Years of Decay, any chance of that coming out? Or?
I'll tell you, we're just opportunist scumbags is what we are. This live in Oberhausen was based on, obviously we love the records, but we're not really anniversary people. We'd rather stay in the current day. But we owed Nuclear Blast a DVD.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, somebody said, we were all sitting around a dressing room in Belgium, and somebody said, "Oh, we should do Horoscope because it's a 25th anniversary." Oh, okay. But everybody does that shit. And that's kind of our thinking. And then the idea was, hey, well, it's 30 for Field of Fire. If we put both in only one night and not do it on an entire tour, then it would actually be special.
Right.
So that was the idea behind this, and it was a memorable night for us, and a great package, and a real good live record we're proud of.
Definitely. And I remember following from Power and Black demo all the way up to when Years of Decay came out. That album was like Overkill, but it was also Overkill with a twist because it had slower songs and it had more epic songs, and of course Skull Crusher, which rules.
Yeah.
And it's just to hear that as a thrasher back in the mid 80s, to hear that was just unbelievable. That okay, they're not just thrash, you know, they're not just power thrash. There's diversity, and I think that set the benchmark for what Overkill continued to do in album after album. And it's interesting because I thought Ironbound was a reinvention of your sound, but then it's like you guys are continually evolving, which is amazing.
Well,
not just band members, but musically.
It keeps us interested in it. I mean, first and foremost, you know, I mean, there's a standard, that's for sure. So, you know, my thinking behind it is that it makes it interesting if there is change. And I always think of Years of Decay is a great record for us, but I think of it as something that culminated, you know, kind of the first chapter in the book, because
Right.
it only gone so far to that point, and that was the best representation of that lineup.
Right.
You know, and it was time for a change. I mean, how many bands can do 19 records? Well, you can do 19 records if you don't do it with the same fucking four guys at the beginning, because that just won't work.
Or the same formulaic sound like AC/DC or something like that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, it just doesn't work. So it was necessary for us to move in, you know, after the Years of Decay to start a new era with Horoscope, which I think it kind of is a signature for a new era for
Absolutely
us.
was.
Because it's not Years of Decay, and that's kind of the cool thing about it, but still has its is still rooted in what the Overkill principle has become.
But even from
since.
the underground below and Killing Kind, when the '90s was all like metal was not popular in the U.S., those albums still were just, I mean, just they were still metal. I mean, you guys are one of the few bands. I know everybody talks about the Big Four, which is a bunch of bullshit, but you guys are one of the true bands that have stood the test of time, whether you want to call it, I call it just metal. But I mean, whether it be thrash or whatever, you guys have continually put out quality albums, whereas so many other bands are kind of up and down on the roller coaster.
Well, I mean, there's, it's a two-pronged thing. The 90s came in and, the major labels abandoned the thrash scene and moved over to saying, oh, who else is coming out of Seattle? Who else is coming out of Seattle? And how can we, how can we cut our expenses and sign more of these bands, because that's important. And that's what major labels do. I mean, I hold no grudge. I mean, I get it. That was, as soon as you signed a contract, you knew that you were going to one day be dropped. you know what I mean? It was just like, it's just a matter of when. Right. But I kind of look at it as a blessing because, the majors gave us the opportunity to be visible everywhere, or Atlantic did. But we also had the individual attention that Megaforce Records gave us. Because a lot of the Atlantic records, what you think they are really Megaforce records that are distributed by Atlantic.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
So when the 90s came along, we knew that to do what we loved doing, we had to understand the business aspect of it. And we had great managers who taught us, pay attention, this is important. Not like, shut up, I'll make the decisions. So it was that first premise. So when we got rid of management, we increased our cash flow by 20% just right then, just to be able to do what we love doing. Because we needed, you can't get to Cincinnati if you don't have any fucking money. You could say, oh yeah, but I love it. It doesn't matter. Right. Look at, so we were realists as well as dreamers. And I think the 90s and those records you mentioned are some of the proudest for me because, a lot of other guys just packed up the tent and went home, and there was a few bands that hung around, and because they understood the principle of positive cash flow is necessary to do what you love doing, and even though it wasn't easy. So it's 90s are a great time in my head to look back on. I'm glad I'm not living in them now. Put it that way.
You guys recently, well, not recently, already 3 years ago, put out that amazing box set. But we were all jonesing for the Megaforce Atlantic era. I found out that there was a Japanese label that actually did remaster some of the early Overkill stuff, especially Years of Decay and all that stuff. Have you heard any of those yet?
Listen, I can't tell you. We are so uninvolved. I mean, this stuff is booted. It's just done under the radar. You try to get the Atlantic catalog back just so that we could have our hand in it because it's our stuff.
Right.
And it's like talking. We would have to come in with, big high-powered lawyers to do this, and we're not at that level. You know what I'm saying? Listen, everybody picks up the phone when James Hetfield calls. I get the answering machine.
That's a good analogy. Like I said, he's so articulate. But I think these are legit because it's Japan and Japan's market. It's not like Russian bootlegs.
No, that's true.
But it's good to hear that, because those are the albums we want remastered the most. Because sometimes I feel like I'm listening to Feel the Fire or Taking Over on my cassette. It sounds better. It was interesting. I'm friends with Bobby Gustafson on Facebook.
Okay.
And I actually got a copy of Taking Over from the library. And this was an Atlantic reissue, piece of shit CDR, put out by Atlantic, with just scanned artwork. And I just like, how more can you rip off the band? And he was like, what is this? Is this a legitimate? I'm like, I got it from my library, so they didn't get it from some bootleg. It's legitimate. It's just that's what some of these labels, even Nuclear Blast is doing it. Lesser bands is putting out CDRs because apparently vinyl, obviously, is the big seller right now. And people still love digital, but those of us nerds who still like CDs. So, yeah. But I am glad to see that, that is available stuff, because that's, for me, that's what I said. For me, it was like, I heard The Power in Black, and then I heard Feel the Fire. And so I've actually followed you every album consecutively, and I'm very grateful to have had that privilege.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a journey we're both taking. I mean, at least in the Overkill thing, and probably the scene for that matter.
The scene, definitely.
I mean, I know that you're probably, attached to many of the bands from that scene, and have followed them, the same way. And I think that, the thing is that you want to put your hands on it because the music to you has value. It has value to us. And I think that value stems from the fact that the majors eventually got the fuck out of there.
Right,
You know, and
right,
stopped,
right,
you know,
DIY.
stopped fucking polluting the gene pool. You know, we were, you know, it gave us the opportunity to go back to what we had known, and that was just quite simply the underground, where there was no fucking rules. You know, where you could be profane and not have somebody in the major go, is he saying shit in the song? You know, I don't know if we can use this for the video. You know, and then you're telling the guy
Thanks
to go
for
fuck
nothing.
himself, and he goes, he is saying shit because he told me to go fuck myself.
Thanks
It's
for
so
nothing.
formalized, whereas what the beauty of this is non-formula, but template. It's not supposed to have any rules. You know, the idea is that it's supposed to be avant-garde to the norm, even though it's done with our stamp on it for so many years and recognizable. The attraction I have to this kind of music as a fan is that it still speaks of youthful angst to me, and it still speaks of I don't know, progressive musicianship from record to record in its genre. And I think that people that were attracted to it appreciate that and, you know, recognize its purity.
And you can still hit those highs on those classic songs. Tom Araya, I love him, but, you know, he can't hit the highs. And, you know, Rob Halford is trying to hit the highs, but you still hit the highs on some of them songs. Obviously, by the Overkills and hearing some of the songs, like, you know, from Feel the Fire that you probably hadn't played for a while, where you have to hit that staccato high. That's just pretty impressive.
Yeah, I was really happy with that record. I didn't have to re-record anything on that record.
That's
You know, that
so
was
awesome.
like, you know, it's, you know, for me, you know, first and foremost, I still get excited to do this. It's not just another show. It's, and this is the important show in my career is tonight.
Really?
And well, if you think of it that way, that's how 40
okay.
years come. Yeah, I mean, I only knew that in hindsight.
Right.
Looking back, saying, well, I treated each one like it was important.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
but when it comes to the voice being able to, it's actually gotten better since the Ironbound record because, you know, I just dropped the butts. It was just, I mean, I was a 2-pack a day, you know, coffin nails, you know, that cowboy killers. I mean, I had Marlboro dangling from my lips at the dinner table.
And
you
yet,
know what I mean?
and yet Udo still smokes like 6 packs a day and still can hammer it out. So
Some people do, right?
Yeah, I don't know how you
mean,
do
it's
it.
but for
Brian
me,
Johnson, too.
it's given me the opportunity to be able to hit the highs.
That's awesome.
And actually, in some cases, even on the new record, higher highs,
awesome.
which is. Hey, you know, it's funny, but I became a singer at 55, not at not at 25. You know what I mean?
Interesting enough, a little anecdote. The first time I ever saw you here was in 1985. You guys were opening for Slayer on the Live Undead tour. They hadn't even put out.
I remember
and,
the tour.
and you guys were amazing,
Yeah.
and that's when
I was
knew.
Feel the Fire, yeah.
Yeah. You guys were Feel the Fire, and they were Live Undead, and it was an incredible show.
Yeah.
That's when I knew it was like, okay, I've heard these guys on the radio, not the radio, I heard them on underground radio,
Yeah.
and I heard demos and stuff, and I was like, I got to get this right away, you know. And then it's interesting, you got the CD later, years later, with the Sonic Reducer. Actually watched that movie, the CBGB movies on streaming on Amazon the other day. It was just so funny to see the guy from Harry Potter play one of the dead boys. It was just amusing in of itself. Another thing I wanted to ask you, people are saying that you guys are bringing out still some older songs you haven't played in a while in the set, possibly from maybe like WFO or something like that. Is that true, or are those just rumors?
Oh, we're doing 2 off WFO in this
Two off
record.
WFO? Oh.
Yeah, and
It's one of them.
we got Necroshine made it back into the set, which was kind of fun. Deny the Cross from Taking Over made it back into the set.
Is one of them Bastard Nation?
Bastard Nation's in there, yeah. Bastard Nation, Under One, Necroshine.
Sorry.
Oh, boy, I'm trying to think. Feel the Fire made it back in the set.
That's fantastic. And 4 new ones, right?
Tonight I think there's 3, because we're switching on and off. We're doing Last Man Standing to open. Tonight we do Head of a Pin, but we switch that every night back and forth with Distortion, Head of a Pin.
Okay.
And then we do Garden State.
Oh, but that's my other thing I was going to segue to. You talk about following the scene. Nothing beats Jersey metal and the Knights of Old Bridge and everything from that 80s era. And I do, man. We actually saw, what's his name from Eddie Trunk's show? Don Jamieson at a show. He was opening for Anvil, right? Mm-hmm. And it was so funny because I was wearing a Hades shirt. He's like, way to represent. And I was just like, dude, I love Jersey metal. You have no idea. From Jersey Dog to Attacker. I mean, it's not just Overkill. I'm like a Jersey, and I've never even been to Jersey. I've never even been to the Garden State. But that Garden State song and that video that has that kind of like old kind of punk sound, kind of like, you know, the song you like. I'm drawing a blank. the song that Stephen loves.
Old school.
Old school. Thank you.
He still remembers that. You know.
Yeah.
We brought him here. I don't know when that was.
10 years
but
ago, I
he
think.
loved old school, and you guys played it and you dedicated it.
Yeah,
to
for our
him.
son who's now
He
15.
still remembers that.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
You guys just did a whole like anthology of videos talking about the Garden State and talking about Jersey and talking about your history and how important that era was.
Yeah.
Was that like something that was like Nuclear Blast asked you to do, or was it something you guys have been wanting to do for a while, or?
They do video trailers for that lead up to their recordings, and this is only our second record for Nuclear America. We've been on Nuclear Europe prior, but they wanted us to come out to California and sit in front of a green screen and answer questions that were prepared for us about the record and about the recording. And Gerardo and I get along great. Gerardo runs Nuclear Blast America.
Okay.
And I said, dude, you're making a mistake with this. The real thing is bring them here. You'll save yourself a fortune. We'll all just come in. We'll meet in a central area, somewhere in Jersey, somewhere we record, somewhere that we've played. You see things. We'll take shots of the landscape of the shore, and you'll get the real deal then. You'll get credibility added to your trailers. And he was like, dude, this is a fucking great idea. Let's do that. He goes, first of all, I love the credibility. Second of all, saving me half of the money is a great thing.
Yeah, definitely.
But it was, it's funny when because we had to approve them and rewatch them and before they went out. And, I thought to myself when I was done with it that if you read or listened between the lines, not just what we were saying about what we did and how it developed and who we knew and how it worked. Between the lines is what misses in the modern era today. That the modern era for us is a mix of what you hear on that, of us talking, and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. But as social as we were back then, it's what's missing for a young band to be able to go out and be able to kick the door in.
Right.
Because you don't kick the door in, you do it via the web.
Yeah,
today.
Bandcamp, right.
We would kick the door in, and there'd be somebody on the other side, and sometimes we had to defend ourselves. But that's the human aspect that misses in the modern day. And I'm not saying, hey, there's nothing wrong with instantaneous information. We're all fucking used to it. Maybe there is something wrong with it, but the point is because half of it is just not real.
And none of it. We have no privacy. There's no such thing as privacy.
No privacy. Everybody's looking at you. They're looking at you through your cameras on your computer, whatever. But I'm not a paranoid conspiracy theorist. But I do think that whenever I'm asked, how does a young band make it? I say they have. At their disposal, they have great tools with social media, technology, Pro Tools. You can make a fucking great demo or record in your basement.
Yeah.
But they miss wearing their sneakers out and getting out there and shaking some hands. Of course, you all have friends and you get together, but the only way that we ever did this was to be constantly visible, whether we sucked or not. It wasn't about sucking was okay. You were going to get better because the people you knew watched you get better, and they brought more people, and that word of mouth credibility, hands down trumps, beats the fucking. How many likes on Facebook you're going to get. Right. Because, all they are, hey, listen, I got 1,200 likes. That 12,000, I got 120,000 likes. Guaranteed 70% of them are a hand job. It's just not. And the hand job's a hand job. It's nothing else.
Right. And I know we've talked about this in the past too. I know the band themselves represents social media. You're on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, but you yourself are like me. You're a borderline Luddite. You despise social media, and you don't really want to have anybody bothering you.
I just don't want to be bothered. My friends that know me, they have my phone number.
Right.
And I go, whoa, Chris, man, it's fucking great. Yeah, I'll take a ride with you. It's not like, hey, here's a picture of my bike. Well, shined up. Now I'm gonna roll it back into the fucking garage, and okay, I'd rather be on a dirty bike with bugs between my teeth.
Yeah. Well, I'm the same way. I'm even writing for this new site. It's like there's so much social media stuff. It just bugs me. It's just like, can we just focus on the music? Can we just But I'm the same way, and I use the word Luddite because it's not that I don't like modern technology. It's just I'm stuck with a more. last week we had a power shortage. Some guy backed into a transformer, knocked it over. We had no electricity for 9 straight hours. Her and I had flashlights, candles, and books. Our son had no idea what to do when he got home from school.
Right.
You know, because he's just grown up in an era of just everything is instant information and social media and stuff. He eventually pulled out the portable DVD player and popped in, you know, a new Transformers movie and stuff, and that was good. But for the most part, he was just like, you know, and I was like, just go outside, let's go do something, you know.
Yeah.
You know, people just miss that. They're just, you know, and I think that's something, and it's probably in our age group too. You know,
sure. We're the dinosaurs. We're going to be extinct very soon. But you know, the point is that there's something charming about it, and not because it's the only thing we know. We know the other side too.
Right.
It's just I prefer what made me what I am, and that didn't make me what I am. And sure, there's going to be new bands that come out of social media that are going to make great strides and are going to be great bands. I get all of that stuff. But I'll tell you something, man. We had to learn how to play, and we had to know how to shake hands.
Yeah.
You couldn't be a douchebag. And if you were a douchebag, you better know how to fight.
Yeah.
You know, that's how it worked. In the early days. But it was. I think it's kind of special that there's still some of that dinosaur vibe around, and obviously paired with the technological vibe.
Right. A good healthy balance. Yeah, there's a festival coming up in Columbus in 2 weeks here called Sonic Temple. It used to be called Rock on the Range. It's called Sonic Temple.
Sure.
And Ghost is headlining, but the Cult are on like at 4 p.m. I'm like, it's called Sonic Temple, and the Cult, who've been around 38 years, are not headlining. But Ghost has succeeded because of social media and because of image.
And that's great for them. I mean, I wish them the best.
That's good. I like your attitude. I have issues with them, but that's just me. But no, you're right, and that's good. And I'm glad to see you guys touring with DeathAngel. I can't wait. I only heard a few songs from the new album, but I love what I've heard. I just interviewed Jeff Becerra, and the new Possessed is phenomenal.
Okay.
So I'm loving that too. So it's good to see Nuclear Blast is pushing the bands that have been around for a while, and like you said, have been doing this a long time, whether it's East, West, or North, South.
I agree. I mean, I think it's a great home for a band like us. It's easy to go into Nuclear Blast and understand that they understand you. I mean, you don't even have to talk to them, and you know that they get it. I mean, you're talking to a guy in a Possessed shirt or a DeathAngel shirt when you're dealing with them at the office or over in Europe or something. So they're fans of it. So
that's awesome.
Fans hold it. I think that much more special than bean counters. Bean counters are fucking bean counters.
Right.
It doesn't matter. It's all about what the bottom line is at the end of the day or at the end of a quarter. So but the guys that. The guys in the Overkill shirt are the ones who are doing this because they love doing it, that they see the value in it. So that's it's a good place to be this late in our career. I mean, we realize we're coming down the back of the mountain. I mean, we're realists. You know what I mean? But I don't think I'd be able to deal with a suit at this point in my life. It just would be it would just be too fucking irritating, and I probably wouldn't do it.
Yeah, T-shirt and jeans has been the better part of my whole life too.
Yes,
so, I mean,
yes. I feel blessed that I've gone through 4 or 5 pairs of motorcycle boots on the road over these 4 decades.
That's good. All right. Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure, man.
Always.
Good luck with your new endeavor there.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
We'll get some photos real quick, and then.
Sure.
But you'll see you like a